Welcome to the Hiscall Technology Podcast, where we are communicating tomorrow's business needs today. From just outside Nashville, Tennessee, join Hiscall as we discuss all things telephony, data, and infrastructure related to business leaders. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Hiscall Technology Podcast. I'm your host, Chuck. Today, my special guest is Patricia Terry. She's one of our account consultants that has made a successful business out of helping our customers. And today, we're going to talk specifically about how she has helped her customers with their carrier services. Patricia, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
Patricia, how long have you been at Hiscall?
Coming this summer, it'll be 9 years.
9 years. We are right there close together. We started about the same time. I started April 22nd.
And I started July the 5th.
July the 5th. So we're real close then. I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
Patricia, tell us a little bit about your background. You were in sales before, but you had stepped away from sales for a time. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm a 1994 graduate of University of Tennessee at Martin, and right out of college, I got a job with a company named Institutional Distributors selling institutional foods. So I would go into hospitals and nursing homes and restaurants, and I would sell them the food that they would then in turn take to make the products and services that they sold to the end users. And I did that from 1994 to 2002, where I had the privilege in late of 2002, I semi-retired and stayed home to care for my firstborn son, who's now 16. And then a couple years later, about 4 years later, I had my second son, who's now 12. And I got to enjoy being a stay-at-home mom for about 8.5 years.
Fantastic. That's an awesome thing to be able to do. When you decided that it was time to go back to work, I guess your children were getting into school and all of that kind of thing?
Correct. I had seen Gary and Sarah Luffman out eating multiple times, and he told me he knew I was interested in going back to work at some point. And he said, when you're ready to go back to work, come and see me. And then my good friend Debbie Street works here, and along the path, she would call me and tell me about things that might be in my horizon and would I be interested. And the opportunity when I first came to Hiscall was actually in our call center, our solution center, where we were calling existing and new prospect customers, getting their interest in Hiscall. So he allowed me to start part-time, and then when my son was moving into full-time preschool was when I wanted to take the leap into full-time employment.
Was it the flexibility that Hiscall offered that you said, well, if I go back, this is where I want to go?
Yes, absolutely. So family friendly and family first is a huge benefit at Hiscall. I've always felt like I had the flexibility to not ever have to miss anything with my kids, the flexibility to work when it makes sense for me, as long as my customers were taken care of. That's the number one priority, as long as they were getting good customer service. So, of course, raising two boys, that's, that flexibility has really helped me over the last 9 years.
What about when you decided that you were going to do this full time, you were going to move from the Solution Center to be one of our account consultants? Where did you get the confidence that, having not been in technology before, where did you find the confidence that you could go out and help customers with the technology solutions that we have?
Right. So Gary often tells the story. I was great at developing those leads and building those relationships with customers, but then I would have to turn it over and then hope that someone could carry that torch. That's kind of how the full-time employment came about. I expressed interest to Gary. Well, maybe I could just follow up on these leads that I was developing as I've learned more and more. Learning all the solutions we have at Hiscall was a little bit overwhelming because I had not come from the background of some of our sales consultants have 30 plus years in this same industry. But for me, all I really knew about telephony and these products were how to use the phone and talk on the phone. But we have a fantastic level of pre-sales engineers that are teachers at heart. And they taught me things, and I just wanted to learn it all. And then when I realized that we have all these smart people that can help me, and all I need to do is build the relationships, which is what I'm good at, I just took that as my initiative to go out, and then I could meet customers one at a time. And my favorite thing to say is, I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out, because we've got some great technical resources here at Hiscall to find the answers.
And you have done a fantastic job of leveraging our product portfolio. You probably help your customers with more of our products across the board than anybody. I may get in trouble for saying that, but it's true, I believe. What are some of the products you have found the most success in helping your customers?
Right. Well, like I said, I didn't know one product versus the other, and to me it was interesting. As long as I could help the customers, I felt like it was my duty as their sales consultant to share our entire portfolio. So I really like our customer service aspect and the fact that we do what we say we're going to do. Mm-hmm. I've been fortunate in my career to always work for companies who allow you to do that, and that's what gives me a great comfort. I knew I always wanted to be in sales. It's a passion of mine, but working for companies who actually do what they say they're going to do is just a terrific feeling. And I didn't know one product even more than the other. So whether we're talking about low voltage, it was very interesting to me to work with customers from the ground floor up and then build on those things. So security, I think our infrastructure team did a really good job. And again, it comes back to those teachers' hearts. It's the people that took time to invest in my education here at Hiscall that I was very interested in going out. And we have some tremendous vendors that also showed great interest. Probably what gave me my biggest spark right off the bat is we have a fantastic carrier service manager, Cherie, and those of you who have worked with her, if you're customers, you know what I'm talking about. She has an enormous amount of experience in the industry, and with carriers that can be tricky for a lot of our customers, and everybody has to have carriers to make their business work. So it allowed me to see every customer in my area as a prospect. Carrier service is very unique with us in that we can jump in there to a customer, evaluate their carrier services, and discover savings that they may not know that they could take advantage of. And with those savings, it's really easy to let those dollars go. If you're already spending them, then you could buy some equipment and some upgrades. So it's kind of gone hand in hand and given me the advantage to build those trusts within our customers.
So when you talk about carrier, perhaps there's someone listening that doesn't really understand what that is. When you say carrier, what really are you talking about?
So our process is that we can go into any customer. You normally would have a phone bill, just like you have an electric bill. And normally those phone bills from your carriers are going to include all of your telephone lines, whether that's individual, we call them POTS lines. There's about 10 different names for them, and that's what I've learned here at Hiscall. It really depends on where you've learned what you call the technology. So whether you're talking about a small business that might have just 3 individual lines and an internet service called DSL, or you're talking about a bank that might have a service called PRI, which is a service that will allow you to have 23 voice lines coming in and out any one time, and it comes kind of in a bundle package, and a fiber internet. And now we're going all the way up to gig speed internet for businesses, which just in my 9 years, it was kind of unheard of to even see 3 and 5 meg pipes of internet that fast, and now we're going all the way gig speed to the business, which is pretty exciting.
It is very exciting, and it's enabling a lot of different technologies. So when you talk about carrier, you're talking about your connectivity to your customers and business partners and that kind of thing through the analog and ISDN lines and even SIP trunks today, which would be an IP connectivity. Patricia, what's your approach with your customer to help them realize this is something that could help them?
Right. Great question, Chuck. So Cherie and I basically start out with the most simplistic approach. If I meet a prospect and I figure out exactly what their needs are by just discovering and talking with them and visiting with them, kind of what their pain points are. A lot of times they realize that they are paying too much for those carrier services, too much for their internet, too much for their phone lines. We start out by just doing a simple evaluation, and all that takes is basically a copy of your most recent carrier bill. And from that, and with maybe a simple LOA or a letter of authority to allow us to actually look at your phone bills internally, we take a look at that, and we see what you're paying now, and then we have an array, probably 50 or more carriers that we can actually obtain active live quotes from. So we're going to find in your area, and as you know, we cover customers in a variety of states and areas, so we are going to be able to find a carrier that suits your needs the best. and that's able to provide reliable service in your area. So because we do this day in and day out, we do have relationships with a lot of the carriers, and we are able to provide them a substantial amount of business. So we do carry some weight in that and getting the best pricing for our customers. So once we go out and get those quotes, we take a look at what you have now. We might make recommendations of you could I see it, Chuck, a lot of times now we can go into a customer, not only save them money, but increase their speed on their internet, which everybody's looking for, by 5, 6, sometimes 10 times the speed, even at a lower price.
Patricia, do you find that most customers are just sort of in a routine of paying their bill and not thinking much about, what they have and how much they're spending? It's kind of what they have come in every month. It's just another bill I've got to pay. Kind of like the electricity that you talked about.
That is so true, and I kind of guilty of that at my own house. I would want to make it personal, not just to pick on my customers, but I see that even at my own house. We get busy doing our own things and working, and I'm raising 2 boys that sometimes my bill goes up and up and up, and then I finally take a look at it. In my 9 years, I've been able to have some customers that have a true impact. One particular customer comes to mind that will remain unnamed for purposes, but their telecom bill was close to $25,000 a month. Of course, they had multiple locations, but we were able to, through sharpening pencils and really going through the vendors and trying to get that communication and partnership with the vendors, to cut it in more than half of the savings. So you were talking about a really impact on their bottom line. When you're saving $12,000, $13,000 a month, a year, and that savings is permanent, and the way that we work it at Hiscall, the customer keeps all the savings.
And I know, I'm not sure if I'm thinking of this exact customer, but I know a couple of deals at least that you had where you were able to save the customer significant amount of money, but you drastically improved their reliability, their bandwidth, the network that they had available, but the uptime and everything
Correct.
was significantly improved.
That is true, which is kind of like, for me, a double bonus. Everybody wants to save money, but really reliability is priceless in our customers' day-to-day operation. Right. Specific carriers seem to have a big issue when it rains, and old technology really interferes with their technology. If we're able to upgrade to the different paths and the more reliable service, and you've not had 1 minute of downtime in 5 years, then that's kind of priceless to the customer, because a lot of our customers depend on that dial tone and that internet to make their living, and any minute for them is a sacrifice to their business.
That's right. You mentioned Cherie. I know she's been very helpful to you in some of the remote places where you have customers where there's just not a lot of options available. And Cherie, because of the contacts and experience that she has, she's able to drill in and find some options that really takes somebody that knows what they're doing to find. It's just not readily available.
She's a fantastic, and like I said, another priceless resource we have here at Hiscall because of her experience and her dealings with the carrier. And she earned her name, the Bulldog, quite honestly, because she will not let the carriers get away with the stuff that they normally have gotten away with. Everybody, of course, that's their business, is to try to get the most out of it. But we are able to kind of push back a little bit and raise our expectations for our customers, and get them to kind of cooperate with that. Carrier service in itself is not an easy task, so a lot of the customers have kind of shied away with it. If it works, I don't really want to fix it. It works most of the time. And then if we can take that discomfort out for them and help save them money and increase their speed, they're very happy with that.
That's another good point. You talk about saving money, you talk about making improvements and enhancing the service, but even for a customer that they might understand and see that, to think about taking on that project, especially in a multi-site configuration, it is a little scary, I suppose, because it's not what they do every day. They've got a business to run. It can be valuable to have that experience there to help you along the way, give you the comfort that you need to move forward.
Absolutely, Chuck. And I think that goes back to the fact they have a lot of trust in Hiscall, because we have proven ourselves to be the company who says what we're going to do and actually does it. And I often tell people we're not perfect, but the bottom line is even if we make a mistake, we're going to make it right with you. It's good to work for someone who absolutely expects 100% customer satisfaction. That's a great place to work because I have seen him time and time again. Gary Luffman will make it right with the customer. He gives the customer the benefit of the doubt. I've seen that where we may be in error and we make it right with the customer, which these days is a little bit unheard of. Carrier service is a way that we can help the customers to bridge that gap from what they don't know. And I have been able to, with existing customers where I've already earned their trust, take care of their carrier services, but sometimes that's my avenue in with a customer that allows us to do that, trust us up front, and then once we've taken care of that, because it can be a very daunting task for them.
You talk about making the change, but we also can provide that kind of managed service for that. If there's a problem with it, the customer doesn't have to know who to call and make that phone call. They can just call us.
That is so true.
And Cherie does all the hard work of staying on folks to make sure that things get repaired and corrected and customer gets back online. That's all good stuff. And I've heard you mention a couple of times Hiscall standing behind what we do. And the confidence that you have to help your customers, because you know Hiscall's going to stand behind you if you do the right thing. You've brought in the technical resources to help you make good decisions, gave you confidence to go out and be as successful as you are. But also our customers can have confidence in what we do, what we know, and being able to allow them to run their business and do the things that they need to do and not worry about the technology of it. I did want to come back around. So you mentioned the savings in carrier service. You were able to leverage that to help them to make other decisions around technology to further improve their communications and their business.
Correct. There are several companies in our industry that will actually do exactly what we're talking about, Chuck. But as a payment for that, they actually keep a portion of your savings over time. So the end customer won't get to realize all of those savings. What I think is pretty special about Hiscall is that we allow the customer, if they entrust in us, that we can do that carrier service evaluation. We can save them money, get them better service. The customer is able to realize all of those savings, and in turn, a lot of times it makes sense for them to invest in technology, which comes back to Hiscall, fortunately sometimes, and they make capital improvements. A lot of times I work with customers on phone systems specifically, and they may have been a small mom and pop shop. They may have grown from 2 or 3 users to 10 users. So they're really looking at a intuitive phone system now that might have voicemail and auto attendant and some things with enhanced features, ability to call your cell phone. So I kind of do that as a 1-2 punch where I'm able to evaluate their carrier, get them better carrier service that will allow them to have some of those more advanced features along with their new phone system. So after that, they've invested in technology, and I would say the majority of the time, the savings that they've been able to produce by getting the new dial tone or the new internet has paid for the system in the long run, reduced their monthly expenses, and they've gotten an increase in technology. So it's kind of a win-win.
That's a win-win for sure. That's a great deal. As we talk about carrier services and the enhancements and improvements that we see in that technology over the years, that's enabled all the cloud services and things that we see today. Our last podcast episode, Gary announced the Hiscall hosted telephony platform. Have you got any customers that are looking at that?
I do, and I'm very excited about this because I compete with it day in and day out. But the ones that I compete with and I was eager to get quotes on, I wasn't 100% confident in the reliability because it was kind of out of our hands, Chuck. So bringing it in-house and the way that Gary likes to have the operations of and taking out every possible variable that may happen to a customer so they wouldn't have good service, he's taken care of here. So he's really built a robust product that I will be tickled to sell. So currently I have 2 or 3 customers that are looking into it. They were already thinking about a hosted solution. This makes really good sense. So it's just coming out, and I'm very excited that it'll just be one more tool in my belt of things to sell to my clients.
That's right. And you had customers that actually were part of the trial, right, that we
I did.
Took some phones out and asked them to hook it up and use it and let us know how it works and all that kind of thing.
Right. We've got some really great customers who are huge Hiscall fans and just, partners with us. We've worked with them over the series of years, and they're always eager to, get the new products, try the new products. And both of these customers actually have a different telephony system, and telephone system, but we just said, hey, will you try this? We know your network, and these are customers that are the variety of, they like technology. They like trying new things, which will be appealing. So that was exciting that they could be a part of the trial and just be a part of this process. And who knows, they may be on that platform soon.
That'd be awesome. Well, Patricia, I'm looking at the clock. It looks like we're about out of time today. Thank you so much for coming in, sitting down in the office and talking about carrier services and a little bit of your background, sharing that. Thank you for that.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
If you have any questions about carrier services, would like more information about that, of course, always reach out to us here at Hiscall. We would love to talk with you about that. As we wrap up today, as always, don't be afraid, only believe.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Hiscall Technology Podcast. Subscribe to this podcast so you can stay up to date with today's business communication trends. To learn more about Hiscall solutions for your business needs or to listen to previous podcasts, visit us at our website, hiscall.com.